Hi guys, my name is Lisa Whitehouse and I'm the artist behind Whitehouse Art. Thank you for joining me today for one of my mini tutorials. Be sure to hit subscribe if you want to see other videos like this one. Let's get started. Alright, so for today we're going to be painting on avocado using watercolors. As for colors we're going to be using, for the center, like the innermost part of the avocado, I'm going to be using cadmium yellow. For the outer part I'll use a permanent green pale. And then for the the peel part, I'm going to use the cobalt green. I'm going to be using a little bit of cobalt teal in the background. And then I'm going to use raw umber and red iron oxide for the center. So I can also leave a list of these in the item description or in the video description below. As for brushes, I like to use an angled brush as well as a liner brush for small detail work. So first things first, we're going to sketch out the avocado. So you can make it whatever shape you want. But most avocados follow the same basic shape. So bigger on the bottom, smaller on the top. That's pretty much it for that. And then I'll throw a seed. I think we'll make this seed heart shape just to make it a little more fun. Because I really love avocados. That looks good. I might just, it's a little crooked. So I think that's good. All right, so first things first, we're gonna go and lay down a layer of clear water. I like to use a water tray that has two separate sides, and that way the clear water is good for laying down washes, and then I clean my brush on the dirtier side. And inevitably I have to change out the water just because both end up getting dirty, but this helps go as long as possible. So we're trying to have the clear water all throughout the avocado. And that way you can go lay in the yellow. All right, so we'll take some of that nice bright yellow and we'll start putting it in. Now, if the paper is drying too fast, you're going to notice it doesn't bleed as well as you'd like, so you have to kind of encourage it by taking clear water and moving that yellow around. I find the papers with a larger tooth on them, that are sort of bumpier, it doesn't bleed quite as much, so you have to encourage it a little bit more. And I find this paper to be quite bumpy. So next I'm going to take some of that bright green that I mentioned earlier, and we're going to move that around the outside. Just allowing it to bleed into the yellow. So that we're going to end up with a mix of both, kind of mixing it on the page. If you notice any sections that get quite dark, because a clump of watercolor sort of lets go there, that's okay. You can just gently massage that in using your brush. And then this is going to be drying as we speak, so as it dries, we're going to want to come in around it with that cobalt green. So you're going to take quite a bit of color and just kind of make your way around. Now, certain parts you can go wider. And I love the way it sort of bleeds in wherever it's still quite wet. This effect is something that's very easy to achieve with watercolor, and I think that's why I like about it so much. as that dries, I'm going to go ahead and add a bit more green in the center. We're just going to kind of continue to layer it as it's drying, and that way it'll be dark enough once it's dry, because watercolor always lightens as it dries. A little more yellow. And then I'm going to go back around another time with that green just to really darken it. And that looks good to me for now for this coat. What we're gonna do is let this dry, and then once it's fully dry, I'm gonna do some background as well as the center of the avocado. All right, so now that the painting is mostly dry, I'm gonna do the background. That's because we need the background to be able to dry in order to do the thin, dark skin. So for the background of this avocado, I'm actually gonna go and create sort of a loose blob, let's call it, of watercolor. So we're just kind of taking the brush, going as close as we can to the avocado. As long as it's dry, you can actually touch it. And we're going in. And then I'm going to take some of that teal that I was referencing earlier. And I'm going to just drop it in and around. I just like the way the teal pops next to that lime green. That's why I think it makes a cool background. I'm gonna splatter a few drops of the teal around. And then we'll do the same thing over here. Kind of jumping around a bit as this dries, adding a little more. And then I'm going to take actually a small flat brush and add a few more drops. Sometimes I find the flat brushes let go more. And the center is still a little bit wet, so we're going to let this dry, and then we'll do the center of the avocado. All right, so now that it's had time to dry, we can go in and enter this, do the center. So same as before, we're just gonna add some clear water. And this is where we're gonna use that brown that I had mentioned. So just starting near the bottom. I'm going to take a little bit of the reddish brown. I'm going to leave that to dry for a little bit, and I'm actually going to do a little bit of a dark shell around it using Payne's Gray. And so just using a varied pressure around the edge, we're going to go in and add that shell. Now normally it would be quite a dark green, but I find the Payne's Gray against the dark green that I've already added. I feel like that still looks like a shell. And it really does vary in thickness. and it's quite bumpy, so having a bit of a shaky hand for this is actually good. So I'm using varying pressure around the edge, and because the paper's a little bit bumpy, it's actually helping as well. And just while this is still drying, I'm going to go in and add a little bit of green. A little bit of yellow. And then we can go back in and add a little brown right near the edge again. I'm wanting it to appear darker on the left side. So I'm actually going to take a little bit of Payne's Gray and just do a thin line right here. That looks pretty good to me, so I think we'll just sign it. In this case, I'm going to use the Payne's Gray to sign it. And that's it. All done for today. Thank you guys for joining me today. I hope you guys had fun. Be sure to check out my other videos for more inspiration and leave a comment below with some ideas that you want to paint. Thank you and see you next video.